All right, we got Nick on.
Yeah, I believe Nick is joining
Dowder.
us. He is powered by Verizon. Nick, good morning. How are you?
Hey guys, good morning. How are we doing?
Dowder.
We are
What's
doing
up?
well.
Nick, let me ask you a question. Okay, Cakes on button.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So we were talking about your career arc and everything, and Carberry talked about you being one of his guys, his go-to guys. And I asked Cakes, I said, did Nick won a ring? And he said, no, he got here the year after.
Yep.
How much is that a focus of you, like an underlying back of your mind thing? Is it a front and center thing? I had an argument with I guess I'm going to call him a friend, Rom, who claims that professional athletes, they get paid so little extra in the postseason. They don't really care about that stuff. They don't care about it. They just, they're happy when the season's over because, their bodies are broken down and all that. He wasn't necessarily saying it about hockey guys, but he was saying it about NFL guys. And he was basically making the argument about professional athletes. And I'm like, dude, they want the hardware.
I think hockey players are different.
Tell Nick also who has a ring and he doesn't have one.
You mean us?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
We're Stanley Cup
we
champions.
are champions. We do have rings. But Nick, is that something that is sort of top of mind or in the back of your mind at all points? Or, I know you're not going to go on the air and say, yeah, I can't wait for the season to end. But just how prevalent of it is it in your mind?
How prevalent is it in my mind to
win a championship, to hoist the cup?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's, I think you'd have to be an interesting professional athlete not to want to play at the end of the year. I mean, every professional sport, you grind it out all season, just to get to the end of the year so you can play the best time of the year, which is playoffs. So I don't think there's a lot of guys, to your point, whoever you're arguing with, your so-called friend here, that guys don't want to play in the playoffs. I think it probably differs for teams that have been out of the playoffs for 10 or 15 games, and then they know they're not going to be in it, and probably guys are probably like, all right, thank God the season's over. That was a rough one. But they're still disappointed they didn't make playoffs. And for teams that are playing well and guys that are playing well individually, they want to get into the playoffs. I mean, you may not get paid necessarily, and compensated the same as you do in the regular season. But what you got to remember, too, is, guys make and break their whole careers coming out of, playoffs, series and Stanley Cups and stuff like that. Whether or not you win or lose, you're probably going to end up getting paid more in the long run, knowing that when people see how you compete in the playoffs, right? Because everyone wants a winner and everyone wants someone that has playoff experience. But it's not something that I think about every single day. But I mean, if I had to put a number on it, at least I don't know, once a week or once every other week, you're thinking about getting into playoffs and how hard it is. And I want to win a Stanley Cup. I think that's you always. Growing up, you hoist a Stanley Cup in your basement, every other day when you're playing mini sticks. So, I definitely think about it. I think everyone thinks about it. I mean, I think that's the goal, right? The regular season is a grind, but you do it, and you do it to perform well so you can get into playoffs. I mean, that's
it's a long way to go.
It's not all about the money at this point for you guys. You love money. Everybody loves money, but I mean, Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a reason too why you see teams. I think that's why playoffs get so much harder, is because there's some players, they obviously are really, really high end players, right? Maybe they're good at certain things and they don't put as much emphasis on other things. And then I think once the playoffs, during the regular season, it's hard to do that for 82 games. But then during the playoffs, guys know that, you lose a hockey game or you win a hockey game, that can put you into the next round, or put you out of playoffs. And so I think everyone commits to the hard stuff in playoffs, and that's why it gets so damn hard to score goals and win games.
Yeah. And I think this is year 7 here in Washington for you, Dowder. This is probably a hard question to answer, but do you think that, and I have to go back and look at all the records of all the Caps games or seasons when you were here, but do you think this is the best team you've played on here in Washington, this particular team?
Oh, that's a hard one.
That's
yeah.
hard. I know it's very difficult. Very difficult. Sorry about that.
Yeah. I mean, record-wise, I'm not. I couldn't even dive into that. I'm like the last guy when it comes to statistics. I really don't pay attention to any of that. I mean, I know how the team's playing. I know how I'm individually playing. But I think this is probably one of the best teams I've played on as a hockey team. Probably one of the best, filled with some of the most interesting and best group of guys that have gelled together. We've had some great Cavs teams in the past, and it's been filled with great individuals. So I'm not saying I just think this year has a little different feel to it. And I think that maybe because we have such different personnel compared to what we've had over the last 5-6 years. I mean, the Cavs, we've had a lot of great players that have stayed around for a long time, and that's what have made the Caps a great hockey team. This year it was a little different because I think no one expected much from us coming into this year after, just making the playoffs last year and grinding along. And then we added some new pieces this year and some guys moved on. And I think, we were a little bit of an underdog coming into the season, and I think we shocked a lot of people, but it's had a little bit of a different feeling this year for sure.